Welcome into the Week 17 preview part 1. If you're watching this video, that means you made it. Most likely you made it to your fantasy championship. If you didn't make it to your fantasy championship and you're watching this video, I really appreciate you. And if you did make it, hopefully we helped you just a little bit with a decision here or there. You never know. One little thing can change the outcome of your fantasy life. Tackle at the 1 yard line, this start-sit decision over another. So hopefully we helped you a little bit. And if we didn't, we'll look to be better and help you in the future. So this is our last preview series here. 3 videos coming at you. We have 15 games to look at, full workload, full game load. And they're all on. We got one that was yesterday. Today's Friday morning. We had the Thursday night game, which was a good game for you if you started, David Njoku, Joe Flacco. I think Garrett Wilson, I have to double check, was okay. Breece Hall was good. Elijah Moore, if you took a chance on him, I know he went out with a kind of a scary looking injury, but he played well. And I believe that Garrett Wilson got you 5 for 50, so not great, but doesn't kill you, that's for sure. But we got a game tomorrow, Cowboys-Lions, and then 14 games on Sunday. I think we have 10 morning games, 3 afternoon, and then the Sunday night game. No Monday night game this week. And we're going to jump in and start with that Lions, that Saturday game, the Lions at the Cowboys. The over-under, I believe, is the highest of the week at 52. Cowboys are favored by 5.5, which may shock some people, but Cowboys have been really, really good at home. They're undefeated. They just play much better at home. So this is a pretty easy game in terms of fantasy. Starting with the Lions, to me, Jared Goff's like a low-end QB1. I'd put him right in that, that Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray range. So low-end QB1, if he's been your QB all year long, I don't think you really need to worry too much about it. I'm fine with starting him. I know Dallas, the optics of Dallas is that their defense is really good, but it's been known to give up points. And if you look up recently, since week 9, they gave up almost 26 points to Jalen Hurts, over 18 points to Sam Howell, over 30 to Geno Smith, 16 to Josh Allen, 15 to Tua. So, you're hoping for a couple touchdowns and 200 yards from Goff, and I think he can give that to you in a high over-under. So, in terms of the running backs, Gibbs and Monty, to me, are still kind of starts. Gibbs is almost a must-start at this point. They're using him a lot. They're not – I don't know. It was weird last week with Montgomery. Like, he didn't play for, I think it was like the whole third quarter. There was like 2 drives their first 2 drives in the second half where Monty just didn't play. I don't know if it was an injury or I thought I heard maybe he was being tested for a concussion, but he cleared. He did come back in at the end of the game or in the fourth quarter. So to me, Gibbs is a must start. He's really, really good. They're giving him the work, and they're not really, there's times where they're not taking him out at the goal line. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Last week they didn't in a couple drives, so you just can't pass it up. And even Monty, I think if you started him, for example, last week, you're probably going to continue to start him. I wouldn't worry too much about him. He had a good game, even without only playing 40% of the snaps, I think. I'm just double checking that for you. As you can see, I am solo today, a little busy. Family's a little busy. So Montgomery, we have 39% of the snaps. But the thing about Montgomery is that he's still getting the last 2 weeks, even though he's maybe playing a little less, he still has 20 touches in those 2 weeks. So I'm taking that. If this is going to be a high scoring game, the chances of Montgomery scoring are very high. They're going to want to run the ball. That's kind of the way to beat the Cowboys recently, is by running the ball. And teams have had success on the Cowboys as of late. Charbonnet had over 16 points. James Cook over 35. Mostert, 11.5, which is okay. So Monty, I think, is going to get 15 plus touches, a couple catches, and then his touchdown opportunity is really good. Low end RB2 for me, because without the touchdown, he does have a floor a little bit. So a relatively high floor. And then with the receivers, it's St. Brown. is an obvious start, and Laporta to me is still a must start. He kind of got you here, assuming you have Laporta, like he got you here. The only guys I'm benching Laporta for are Kelsey, McBride, and Kittle, I believe. Maybe Evan Ingram if you want to make a case, but I'd probably still lean Laporta there. So if he got you here and you're using him, don't worry. I know he's been not so great lately. Let's see. Yeah. No, just one game. 2 of his last 3 games have been poor. So, but he also put up a 26-point game there. So he's put up 24 or more points 2 of the last 4 weeks. So he kind of has that boom potential. So yeah, we don't need to spend too much time there. No other pass catcher here for the Lions. So on the Cowboys side of things, again, easy. You're starting Dak. I think I would only have probably Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen above Dak, maybe Lamar, but people don't really have that decision anyways. Dak's like a top 3, top 4 guy this week. Pollard, I mean, I'm still, for the most part, again, if I started Pollard last week on my team and I'm in the championship, I'm probably going to continue to start him. He's been a major disappointment, but and this is going to be a tough matchup. So it's always tough because he's out there all the time. Ideally, they're going to give him 15 plus touches, and I still think he's a talented player. But I would have started guys like Breece Hall over him. It's just the running backs are tough this week. Like I'm not going to start Austin Eckler or maybe Mostert, Derrick Henry. I'm not going to Ty Chandler. I'm not going to start these guys. To me, he's like a top 15 running back. So if you have a couple guys in there, which you totally could with like Hiron or Williams and stuff like that, to me, he's a top 15 guy. And again, if you started him last week, I'm still probably going to start him. The receivers is basically just Lamb. I think he's probably my top receiver this week. I think he's going to, again, high over under. I think he's going to kind of smash. And for that reason, because there's a high over under, like I don't mind Brandon Cooks as a wide receiver 3. He's a boom bust kind of player. That's kind of what he's been this year. Just double checking his game log. So if you look over since week 10, he's had a 28-point game. This is half PPR. 28-point game, a 15-point game, and a 14.5-point game. So 3 really good games of the last 7, but then he's had a 5.7, a 4.7, a 2. Last week he had 9.3. So he's had 3 really good games, 3 really bad games, and an okay game at 9 points. So he's a boom bust guy. He's a low end or a wide receiver 3. He's right around. He's in that range of like Noah Brown, Jacoby Myers, JSN, Rashid Shaheed, and I might lean Cooks over all those guys just because of the potential shootout here. So he could catch a touchdown or 2. That's not out of the realm of possibility for Cooks. So if you need kind of an upside play, I don't mind Cooks. And then Ferguson, again, if he's your tight end and you started him last week and you're going to probably continue to start him, I don't really see any reason not to unless you have multiple good options. He's been fine the last 3 weeks in half PPR, 9.7, 7.4. You'll take both those from your tight end, 6.5. You want a little bit more, and then he always has the chance to catch a touchdown. So again, high scoring games. To me, he's like a top 7-8 tight end. Like if it's between him and Likely, I probably lean Ferguson, but I don't mind. That's kind of a coin flip in my opinion. I think Ferguson maybe has a better chance for a touchdown and Likely maybe a little bit more volume. So, and that's it for that game. It should be a good game. I hope it will. I hope it is. So, as you know, our dad is a Lions fan, so we want to see them do well. Next game here is the Dolphins at the Ravens. Another good game. I wish this game was more. There's 10 games in the morning. This is one of the 10 morning games. I kind of wish it was one of the afternoon games. There's only 3 in the afternoon. We could put more focus on it, but it is what it is. Again, should be a shootout. The over-under is 47. Ravens are favored by 3.5. We'll start on the Dolphins side of things. By the way, both these defenses have been really good. Dolphins have been really good. Ravens all year. Dolphins, especially since Jalen Ramsey came back. In terms of whom, I'm a little worried about Tua. this week without Waddle and against the Ravens. It's tough because if we're talking about Tua, he got you here, right? But, I definitely start – here's the guys I would start over Tua, and you can make the decision if you have any of these guys. Obviously, Hurts, Dak, Josh Allen, Lamar, Brock, Purdy, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Fields. I would start CJ Stroud. I would start Stafford over Tua. I would start Kyler over Tua, even though he's going against Philly. I think Kyler can give you some good points, a good rushing floor. I'd start Baker, who's been playing really well. He's playing the Saints. I'd start him over Tua. I'd start Goff. I'd start Love over Tua, and I would think about starting Geno Smith over Tua as well. And maybe even Derek Carr. I know that sounds crazy. I think Derek Carr has a really nice matchup, and he's been pretty good lately. I don't blame you if you start Tua over Carr because that's kind of hard decision to make, but I wouldn't be surprised if Carr outscored Tua. So Tua is like a top 16 at best quarterback for me. I'm not starting him over guys like Minshew, Browning, Flacco. I probably wouldn't have started him over Flacco. Obviously, Flacco had a good game, so if you took that risk, good for you. But I'm not starting him over guys like Minshew and Browning. I'm not starting those guys over Tua. So that's kind of where he is for me. I could see kind of a down game from Tua. We saw what the Ravens just did to Brock Purdy, who's been really good this year. So a little worried, especially without Waddle. Mostert is basically a must start. I know it's another tough matchup, but Ravens as of late haven't been as good against running backs. I'm just checking. Yeah, if you look at week 10, they gave up over 20 points to the Cleveland guys, 11.5 to Ford, 9 to Kareem Hunt. Week 11, they gave up over 18.5 points to Mixon. They shut down Austin Eckler, but kind of everyone has been. And then they gave up almost 13 points to Kyren, who had 114 yards on him, 25 carries. He just didn't get a touchdown or many catches. They shut down ETN, and then they gave up a big game to McCaffrey. So they haven't been as locked down lately as they kind of were to start the year. So, excuse me there. So I'm fine with Mostert, like especially, and I know he has an injury designation to him. Let me just check the injury report here. So he did his usual, didn't practice Wednesday, but he also didn't practice Thursday. So that is something to keep an eye on. So yeah, I mean, if he's playing, I'm starting him. If he's out, then HN is kind of a must start. And even Jeff Wilson, I think, is like a desperation flex play. If you're looking for someone to replace Mostert, you can probably find Jeff Wilson on the waivers. So I don't mind either of those guys. But if Mostert's there, I kind of don't want to start. Obviously not Raheem Mostert, but Jeff Wilson, you don't want to start him if Mostert's active. Achane, again, he's kind of a boom bust play, but the problem is like he's just not getting the touches. Like I don't know, maybe with Waddle out, they throw him the ball more. Like we're just kind of projecting there. We don't know for sure if that's going to be the case. So it's tough. Like to me, Achane is probably not going to get much more than 10 to 12 carries. And yeah, can he bust off a 50-yard run? For sure. But if he doesn't, then you're looking at a couple bad games like you've had. You know, you had 31 total yards with 1 catch last week. You had 60 total yards with 3 catches. You'll take that. And then 70 total yards with 5 catches. So, you know, to me, he's like a boom bust running back 3. He's like a high-end running back 3. I'd probably start him over most running back 3s. If we're talking about like versus Javonte, Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, Antonio Gibson, these type of guys, I'd start Achane over all those guys. So just for the boom potential. And then obviously Tyreek Hill you're starting. And I probably wouldn't start any other Dolphins receiver. And Waddle is out, by the way. It just came through like as soon as I started recording. I believe if Waddle is out, yeah, it's probably going to be Cedric Wilson. So if you are in super desperate mode for whatever reason, he would be the guy in my opinion, that's going to replace that is going to replace Waddle. But the problem is I just don't know if he's going to get any type of production. They might just spread it around between Berrios, Robbie Chosen, Claypool, all these guys. So as well as Wilson. So I don't expect much more than 4 or 5 targets, even though he's going to be out there a lot. Yeah, that's it for the Dolphins. On the Ravens side of things, obviously you're starting Lamar, Gus Edwards. It's so tough with Gus Edwards. Like he's the ultimate. You need a touchdown or bust running back, and for that reason, he's an RB3 to me. Now, could be a high scoring game. So Miami's pretty tough against running backs. They give up the 7th fewest points, and if you take out like their first 3 weeks, where they gave up over 24 to Eckler, they give up like 40 points to the Chargers, and then they give up 13.5 to Ramondre. If you kind of take those, and even just the first week out, the 40 points to the Chargers, I would assume that they're going to be. I'm just double checking this. Totals, Dolphins. They would be probably the top team against running backs. Now, you can't just take away, like, the Chargers got 40 points off of them. But, week 1, always a little funky type of thing. Like, and teams have changed. Definitely the Dolphins have changed since then. So even if you just have that, they're like in the top 3 best against running backs. So Dolphins are legit team against the running back position. So for that reason, I don't really want to start Gus Edwards. If I'm super desperate and you're looking for if you're in that range of running backs, like the Tajay Spears, the Gibsons, the Khalil Herberts, Javonte Williams, yeah, fine. Go for Gus Edwards, because to me, he has the best chance to get a touchdown out of all those guys. If they get near the goal line, they're going to give it to Gus. So I don't mind that at all if that's where you're at. Zay Flowers, and you're not going to start Justice Hill. You're just not in a championship matchup. Zay Flowers is a wide receiver 2 to me. So I know I'm pretty sure he hasn't practiced this week too. So that's a little concerning. If he is out, I don't mind Beckham, starting Beckham again in this potential shootout. So, yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to start Flowers unless they come out and say he's going to be limited or something. I'm probably going to start him. But if he's out, I don't mind starting Odell Beckham as like a wide receiver 3 with some upside there. And then likely he's like a top 8 tight end for me, so I don't need to spend too much time there. So we'll just move along to the Patriots and the Bills. On the Patriots side of things, like, you're really only starting Zeke is like the only guy I would probably like lean towards as almost a must start. To me, he's an RB2. He's going to get the touches. I mean, it's basically him. And I know Kevin Harris has been taking a little bit more snaps, but to me, Zeke, just look at his reception total: 7.5 and 9, 4, 7, 5, 9 the last 4 weeks. I think Ramondre's been out the last 3, I believe. So 7, 5, and 9. So he's had 21 catches over the last 3 weeks. Like, you got to start Zeke to me. Like, I'd start him over Ty Chandler, Austin Eckler, Chuba, Montgomery. Like, I think he's going to get the volume. He's playing the Bills, who I believe as of late have been better. They have been better lately, but I just think volume is king here. And you got to go with Zeke for that reason. So, and he's kind of like the only guy that I consider like almost like a must start for this team. Demario Douglas is, to me, he's like a 3 wide receiver league. I can, in a PPR 3 wide receiver league, I can consider starting him. I hope for 5 catches and 60 yards, and maybe I get a little bit more. I think he did a little bit more last week. But if you just look at his stats, yeah, he had 5 for 74, 8 targets. The week before, 5 targets, only 3 catches. The week before that, 6 for 50. The week before that, 6 for 84. So that's kind of what you hope for him. You hope for 5 catches and 50, 60 yards, and maybe you get a little bit more, but you're probably not going to get much more. Maybe he catches a touchdown, but I don't know how you can project that when he hasn't caught one all year. So to me, he's only a consideration in PPR leagues and 3 wide receiver and a flex leagues. So, and that's basically it. If Hunter Henry is back, I'm fine with throwing Hunter Henry out there. Just seeing if he is practicing or not. Let's us look here at the Patriots injury report. That's loading. Hunter Henry is limited. If he's starting, I'm fine with throwing him out there. Like he's in that tight end range of like you're hoping for like 3 or 4 catches, 40, 50 yards. And if you get a touchdown, great. And Hunter Henry's a good bet to get a touchdown if he's playing. So, yeah, I think we'll move on to the Bills here. Bills are going to be pretty easy. Josh Allen, you're starting. James Cook, you're starting. Now, I know Stephon Diggs, to me, like is very, very worrisome. It's tough for me to bench Diggs. We talked about this when it was like Cooper Kupp was going through his down time, and I'm just double checking what that was. So yeah, Cooper Kupp had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight weeks where he had less than 6 half PPR points, and it was kind of like, how do you get away from Cooper Kupp? And then he got 12.9, 21.5, 21.1. So good weeks after that, and that's just kind of what he's capable of. Stephon Diggs is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the last 6 games have been under 7 half PPR points. He has a 16.5 in there, sandwiched between those. Last 3 weeks is under 7 points half PPR. The thing about the Bills is that he's getting a huge target share. So I believe 2 weeks ago against Dallas, the Bills threw the ball 15 times. Diggs had 5 targets. Last week against the Chargers, the Bills threw the ball, I believe, like 22 times, and Diggs had 8 targets. So he's still getting over 35% of the targets, 40% of the targets. They're just not really throwing the ball. Will they do that against New England? I don't know. I really don't know. My point is, it's really hard to sit Stephon Diggs. Obviously, if you have multiple guys in the top 12, you're going to bench him, but I'm not benching Stephon Diggs for guys like Metcalf or Nico Collins or, DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not benching Diggs for guys like that. So if you have multiple guys in the top 12 to 15 range and you want to bench Diggs, go for it. But to me, I don't want to miss out on a 25-point game, and that's what Diggs always has that capability of. And that's really it for the Bills. Like I believe Gabe Davis had a good week last week. I don't want to start him. So, and the tight ends, I don't really want to start either. Like Kincaid with Dawson Knox back has just been bad. Just double checking that and make sure I didn't miss anything. So I believe Dawson Knox, okay, let me just look up. I believe he came back. This would be his 4th game back or 3rd. I believe, okay, so this will be his 3rd game back from injury. Dalton Kincaid, since Knox came back, has 4 targets in 2 games, 1 catch for 7 yards. I'm benching both. I don't want to start him. I'd start Kyle Pitts. I'd start Chigakonkwo. I'd start all those guys in the you're probably going to get 3 or 4 catches. You hope to get 40 yards. I talk about it all the time. Maybe you only get 30 or 25 yards, but you still get 6 points or something, in PPR. To me, I'd start him. I'd start all those guys over Kincaid. So I just don't. He's not getting targets. I'm pretty sure he's not out there as much. Let me just double check that really quickly. Less than 50% snap share the last 2 weeks. So they obviously are rolling with Dawson Knox more. So bench Kincaid. And that's it for the Bills. The next game, we got 2 more games on this slate here. We have the Falcons versus the Bears. If you listen to us and you rolled out Bijan, you are happy. And well, first of all, if you made it to the semifinals after Bijan's terrible game in the quarterfinals of the first round of the playoffs, congratulations. And then if you stuck with him, congratulations again. Over 120 total yards with 7 catches is really good. I'm starting Bijan. I kind of said it every week. I'm starting Bijan. Even when he was struggling, I'm starting Bijan. I know what he's capable of. I know he's a really good player. If Arthur Smith doesn't want to give him the ball and I'm going to lose because of it, I'll live with it. I'm I won't live with not starting Bijan and he goes for 17 or 25 points. So other than that, there's no must starts in my opinion. Like Drake London's he always falls in that wide receiver 3 range where he has an extremely low floor and extremely high upside. He's a boom bust wide receiver 3. You look at just double checking. Yeah. If you look at basically since week 8 in half PPR, you get 8 points, 5.1, 11.6, 1.3, 24.2, 3.4, 5.4. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 bust games, under 7 points to me in half PPR is a bust. 7 to 9 is kind of like fine, like doesn't kill you, doesn't help you. And then anything above, 10 or above is starting to help you. So you have 4 bust games in there. You have a fine game at 8 points, and then you have a good game at 11.5, and then a potential week winning game at 24.2. If you get 24 points from Drake London, who's potentially you're flex in a wide receiver 3 league, you're probably going to win your matchup. So he has that potential. So he's ranked right there with guys like Adam Thielen, Deontay Johnson. I think those guys have probably safer floors. I don't think they're going to they could give you 1 or 2 points. I don't really see it with Thielen and probably not with Deontay, but I think he did that last week. Jaden Reed, I'd start Drake London over Jaden Reed coming back from the injury. Drake London and Brandon Cooks are basically like the same people to me for the most part. Like they're ranked this year. They basically have the same point total. There's an 8-point difference. They both missed the game. So they're like the same. They're boom bust wide receiver 3s. So that's what Drake London is. And then Kyle Pitts, like, again, if you've been starting him this whole time and you made it this far, congratulations. I guess just keep starting him. But to me, again, he's just one of those tight ends that you hope for 3 or 4 catches and you hope for 40 to 50 yards and then maybe you fall into a touchdown, which is what he did last week. 3 catches, 49 yards and a touchdown. The week before, 3 catches, 37 yards. You're potentially going to get a game like that. But if he catches a touchdown, you're super happy. If he doesn't, it doesn't absolutely destroy you. So that's where you're at with Kyle Pitts. On the Bears side of things, I'm starting Justin Fields for the most part. Rushing floor guys I really like. The only guys I'd probably start over him are Hurts, Dak, Allen, Lamar, and Purdy this week. If I have Fields and Mahomes, I don't really know how in one quarterback league. I guess I'd lean Mahomes, but that's kind of a coin flip to me. So everyone else I'm starting Fields over. The running backs I don't want to start. I think the Falcons are now the best team against running backs. Okay, 3rd best according to Yahoo, so that's half PPR. They've been pretty good. They gave up big points to Rashad White. They gave up almost 14 points to Alvin Kamara. They shut down Breece Hall. They shut down Jonathan Taylor for the most part, less than 10.5 points. I consider shutting down. Chuba Hubbard had less than 11.5. So they're good. They're good against running backs. And this whole situation, I know Khalil Herbert had a good game last week. I'm not starting him with potentially Deontay Foreman back. And Roshan's still going to get his 3rd down play. So I don't want to start any of those guys if you can avoid it. And then DJ Moore, I'm starting. He's the top 15 guy. And that's it because Kmet's out, unfortunately. So I think Kmet's out, isn't he? I just saw that he's questionable. So maybe he didn't didn't practice it. Yeah, I'm assuming Kmet's out. If he's in there, then I'll start him. But Bears are easy. It's Fields and Moore, and that's really it. So we'll get on to our last game, the Raiders and the Colts. The Raiders and the Colts. The over-under is 42.5. Colts are favored by -3.5, which is a little surprising, I'd say, considering how well the Raiders, how good the Raiders have looked recently. But Colts at home. It's basically they're calling it a pick'em game with the Colts being at home. On the Raiders side of things, I need to pull up their injury report here. Yeah, that was tough last week because they didn't complete a pass for 3/4 of that game, which was insane. And O'Connell threw for 62 yards. So obviously, Davante Adams was a bust, and potentially you didn't make it because of him. Now, I will say this: I'm still ranking Davante Adams as like a high-end wide receiver 2. So, he's in my top 15. He's right outside. He's he's one of the. I'm starting Davante Adams over guys like Metcalf, Devontae Smith, Nico Collins, Michael Pittman, just because I know what he's capable of, which is 8 for 100 yards and a touchdown. So if you look at his game log, obviously terrible game last week. I don't even know how many times they threw it, but he had 6 targets. Before that, 13, 13, 7, 10, 12. This is a pretty good matchup for wide receivers, I believe, Indianapolis, that is. Just double checking that. 7th fewest, but they seem to give up points to the main guys there. So if they're going to have to throw the ball, it's going to be Davante Adams. Josh Jacobs, Jacoby Myers, he's in that wide receiver 3 range for me. Like he falls in there with he's below guys like Brandon Cooks and Drake London, in my opinion, but he's in like the Shaheed, Noah Brown, Jaden Reed, JSN range. So he could have a good game. He could really do nothing. So I don't really want to start the second pass catcher for this Raiders team that's not really throwing it that much, and they want to win by running the ball. So Josh Jacobs is weird. I thought he was going to play, and then he got an illness, which I thought was the reason why he didn't play. But now, again, hasn't practiced for 2 straight weeks. Is this just more of like a veteran rest day thing? Whatever Raiders running back is in there, I'm starting. If it's Josh Jacobs, I'm starting him. To me, he's an RB2, both of them. Zamir White, I'm starting him if they're in there. So good matchup here for the Colts, I believe. 3rd most points to running backs. If you look at their game log since their bye week, Rashad White in half PPR had 12 points. Derrick Henry had 24.5. Tajay Spears had almost 11 points. Mixon had 20. Chase Brown had 18. Jalen Warren had 9.5. Bijan and Algier combined for 30. I'm starting whatever running back is starting for the Raiders, almost assuredly. So that's it for the Raiders. On the Colts side of things, Michael Pittman, if he's in there, I'm starting him. He had a full practice, so I think he's good to go. I'm starting Jonathan Taylor. I know he was kind of disappointing last week. Playing the Falcons, they were down. They were kind of getting blown out in that game, I believe. So that maybe had something to do with it. He still had 18 carries. They didn't throw him the ball. They don't really throw him the ball that much. But I'm starting Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman. That's basically it for this team. Don't want to start any other receiver, pass catcher, or running back. So I think that's it. I think we made it through our first video here. The first 5 games on the slate. We're going to be back with 5 more games for you, hopefully helping you win your fantasy championships. As always, like and subscribe. I will catch you guys next time.